All right, welcome everyone to our next NARI Spotlight, the National Association of the Remodeling Industries program, introducing you to some of our best members. And today we have with us Cynthia Murphy of Murphy Design. Welcome, Cynthia.
Well, thanks for having me, Art. I'm excited to be here today.
Well, I've been excited waiting for this. We've had a couple of great conversations leading up to this, so I'm looking forward to this interview. Before we really get started with the meat and potatoes of the interview, why don't you just give us a moment of who you are, how you ended up in this business, and what is Murphy Design?
Okay. Well, Murphy's Design LLC started back in 2007. I was designing kitchens, bathrooms, interior spaces for a lot of contractors and builders in the area. My husband was out building large projects out in the Fauquier-Middleburg area. And we decided that we need to join forces. He's a master carpenter, and I was having issues in the field from communication to execution, and really felt like I needed to tighten that up. And who better to tighten it up with than your husband? So I felt like if I can't talk to him, then who can I talk to? So
then you have other issues, right?
Exactly. And he had already been pitching in. I had, there were times where he would come in and pitch in. So we decided in 2007, made it official in 2008, and started Murphy's Design to focus on executing the kitchen, bathroom, and interior spaces that I was working on. I would spend months, weeks, sometimes months with clients, really picking out and designing their spaces and putting a lot of time into the selections of the materials they were using. And I felt like once the construction started, some of that continuity got lost. And I wanted to be able to continue it from the design phase all the way through until completion. So that's why we started. That's what we started in 2008 officially, and been doing that now for ever since.
Okay. Well, first of all, just for those who haven't connected the date, you picked an interesting time to start a new business.
It was the worst. They say it was the worst time to start a new business. But here's the thing. One, I don't think that we knew the difference. And two, people are always, if it's going to be, good service, if it's going to be good work, good quality of work, good construction, there's always going to be work, particularly in the Northern Virginia, DC market. So we really, it allowed us the opportunity to get started and work ourselves up to the company that we've become. It's some of the time back then, it was like the best of times. It really was. It was a good time.
Excellent. All right. Now, I've actually gone through a remodel myself, and I know it's a massive project that takes just a lot of coordinated stuff. What are the biggest challenges that a person faces when they decide to go on that journey?
Well, I think that, anytime you tackle a major improvement project in your own home, there's going to be a series of challenges that you're going to face. So the first challenge that I think that most customers face is, what don't they know that they need to know? Okay. And so I think that there's a lot of advertising these days. There's a lot of sites developed around kind of telling homeowners what they should want to know, what they should be asking. And I think sometimes that opportunities get missed. So I would say that the first challenge is asking the right questions, asking the questions that they really want the answer to, versus the questions that they're told to ask. I think that's right from the first contact. I think that's their first challenge, because if they start off asking the general questions, they're going to get back the general answers, and they're not really helping push themselves forward the way that they need to.
Can you give me an example of what, maybe some of those questions are that they normally do want to ask, but maybe not thinking of?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple that come to mind right away, but the one that is always the first question that I get every time is, how much is this going to cost? And so getting that question during the first conversation from a homeowner, it's almost an impossible it's almost an impossible question, because you can't really answer that because you don't know what they want. And you may know that they want a kitchen, but is that really what they want, a kitchen? They want their kitchen. So what they really want to know is, can you help us get what we want at a price we can afford? That's the question they really want to know the answer to. Like, they know we can put a kitchen in their house.
Right.
So, but they want to know, can we put their kitchen in their house? Can we put the kitchen that they're dreaming about, that they've been saving for or working for? Can we do that for them? And part and parcel of that is at a price that they can afford.
Okay. And I need to ask, how do you do that?
Well, you have to, you have to allocate enough time to get to know the person and the family who wants the project done. And I think it's allowing a process to develop that they can communicate what they want, that they feel safe, that they're comfortable telling you what they want and what they can spend. And if what they want is completely out of the range of what they can spend, they need me to help them find ways to do it, to get there. And so that becomes the communication, that becomes the relationship that we develop. So I would say that question of what is it going to cost, how much is it going to cost, really becomes, can we afford to work with you? And then becomes the can we afford not to work with you? Like, because you're going to listen to us, you're here, you're our advocate, you're going to guide us through this process, and we believe that we're going to get the most for what we want, what we can, because you're going to listen to us and you're going to make that happen for us. So that's kind of how it has to start at the very initial first couple of meetings. Then we go, then we get into, I go into what I call a project development agreement. And then in that project development agreement, that's really where we build the relationship and scope out what it is they want, what is it they're looking for.
Okay. It sounds, just trying to read between the lines a little bit, that they come to you and asking you for a kitchen, say that, but they really might be looking for something else other than a kitchen. What would that be that they're actually looking for?
What they really want is a partner. They're looking for a partner. They're asking for a kitchen, but they're looking for a partner who's going to help them get that kitchen. They've reached out and dialed the phone because they know that they can't get there from where they are on their own. So what they really want to know is, are you the person that's going to get me there, and can I partner with you on the project? So that's really at the earliest stages is what they're trying to decide.
Okay. I think you're right. I mean, I've not heard it expressed that way, but I think you're right. I think that is what they're asking. So let me ask, what question, would you ask that's not being asked?
I think that that's the first, that's what I would ask that question. Can you help us get what we want at a price we can afford? And then immediately following up with, how? How can you do that? Then once they determine that, okay, I'm comfortable with you, I'm feeling like you're getting me, I think you're understanding what we're looking for and you're getting me. Now, how do we do it? How do I get that project? How do we get from there on that? So that would be then next is then they want to know how. And what the question they tend to ask is, what's your process? Right? That's usually the next question that comes from them. But what they really want to know is, how are you going to take me from here to there in this project?
Okay.
And sorry about that.
No problem. All right. I think you're right. That makes perfect sense. Now, I'm assuming you have a team that that you work with.
Sure.
Correct. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that. I mean, is it important for them to know who that team is? I'm assuming that they're all professionals. They know how to put a sink in, I'm going to assume. But,
Right.
what,
Right. So
yeah, you know.
yeah, so they, typically, so then they'll, once they ask, okay, what's your process? Well, what they're really asking with that, instead of what what our process is they're really trying to figure out who's going to help us. They know we do this all the time. So they know we go from an existing kitchen to a beautiful new kitchen. They've seen the pictures, so they know that. So they know that they're ultimately, to get there, we have a process. But they're not that interested in what our process is. They're more interested in who's going to be guiding us through the process. Because there's a big difference from someone coming to do a kitchen and a contractor saying, okay, now you're going to go to these 4 places and pick out what you want, and then you're going to come back and I'm going to tell you how much it's going to cost. Versus how we do it, which is we're here, we're your advocate, we're your team. I'm going to take you through the places that you need to go. I'm going to take you through the materials that you need to select. So what ends up happening is myself and my design coordinator together, we take them through the process. We guide them through so that they get all of those things done with someone who's got an eye on what they're actually selecting. Okay. And that really helps at the front end. So that usually makes them much more comfortable, because they're very, very afraid of going out and making a mistake. Well, what if we pick cabinets and the countertop looks awful? Well, we've spent all this money. What if in the moment we get so excited about it that we forget that this isn't what we wanted? So we're kind of there to keep them on track as they meander through the selections and they go through it, and we're making our suggestions and we're giving them, this is a beautiful faucet, but it's very modern. And you've kind of talked about a home that's more traditional and with a little more detailing. Maybe this faucet would look better with the other selections that you've made as a whole type of a thing. So that's how we kind of get to getting through the front end of the design selection process, and then introducing the team members. Through that process, through the design selection process, they start right out the beginning, getting to know who my husband is, John. Because I'll talk about, well, John this or John that, and they'll meet John. And so they'll know that, okay, John's the one who's going to be taking us through getting these things installed. And then they'll talk about, our carpenters. We had a carpenter, Andrew, and clients would always say, well, Andrew, he's the one. Right. And our, and our tile and flooring, and it becomes, our tile and flooring team, which is Fernando or, those types of things. So they get through the design and selection process. They get introduced to the whole team so that then they start to see how we're going to get them where they need to go. I think that in the design and selection process, the greatest opportunity that is missed during design and selection is making sure that they're getting what they want at a price they can afford. That's where the wheels can come off the bus the fastest. Because once they get exposed to all these beautiful things, it's very easy for them to go towards materials and adding things that are beautiful. But maybe it's not bringing anything to the table. It's not carrying the weight of the cost. And in the end, will they even notice those things? So part and parcel of that first initial question is, at a price that we can afford, becomes having those conversations as we're selecting and saying, this is beautiful, but in this full picture and full scheme, Are you going to see it? Or is it just going to be a beautiful kitchen and everything's going to be beautiful? And if this is the thing that's throwing you way out of budget, maybe we can redirect it, because we're going to, it's a feeling they want. That's what they're looking for, is a feeling they want. And they don't have to get that feeling out of everything they select, but they do have to be able to get that feeling from the whole room when it's finished.
Okay. So let me ask you, can you tell me a little bit more about how that feeling actually is produced? Can you you describe the process, but is there an example that you could give, maybe, or something that would allow us to really hold it?
Yeah, I would say that, when, certainly one of the easiest examples is in the kitchen. I mean, we all know the kitchen is the hot spot of the home. It's where everything's happening. So an example of a feeling would be when a homeowner, when they come to me and they're talking about how they want to be in the kitchen and getting the dinner prepared, or working in the kitchen, and they have young children, but they want to be able to keep an eye on the kids while they're playing. Right? They want to be able to see, or maybe they're a little bit older children, and maybe the kids are on computer time, and they want to be able to see what they're actually doing on the computer, and be and just know that their presence is there. So what they're looking for is a feeling of connection to their family. What they're looking for is this kitchen to work as a hub and to be like the main focal point, and that they are able then to feel in control and connected to their family. It could be that they love to have family and friends over. They love to entertain. They want their home to be the place that they come to. Right. They want to have them into their house. So there, it's all about the social and the energy and the joy that's happening. And those types of feelings I can get without having to go to a designer luxury product. I can get those feelings for them and keep them in budget without having to go to an expanse. So what they're really looking for is they're looking for all those great feels. And so keeping an eye on that through the design and selection process, right, and bringing them back to that really helps to keep them on earth, so that they don't spin out. And because that's the problem that people fear, is that they're going to go through the design phase, they're going to spin out of their budget, and they're going to get to the end and they're going to we can't afford this. Right. We can't do this. So they've just spent all that energy and time falling in love with something, and now they can't afford it. So that's what we want to avoid.
All right. It sounds to me as if maybe the real magic in this whole process is selecting the right firm to work with for the client.
Yeah.
Have that chemistry that this probably is going to work out well. And if the chemistry is missing, regardless of how talented people are, it's probably not going to end up with the end result that they want. So I guess the question would be, what is the most important item, and when you're selecting a remodeling company to work with, what would your recommendations be that you're looking at?
Well, I think they need to know, I think that, they need to know the who behind the remodeling firm. And when I say that, we're, of course, they say, well, we have people talk in terms of, okay, well, we'll have a designer who will help you make your selections.
Right.
Okay. Who's that designer? Getting to know a little bit about that person is important, because, it's not that you have to be best friends with them, but you do need to have a mutual respect that you can develop, and that you are like, okay, well, this designer gets me, she hears me, or he hears me. And so now I'm comfortable and I'm able to voice the things that I'm thinking that I might not have felt comfortable voicing. And those are the things that in the process of design, you need to hear. You want to hear those things, because whenever I've had a project that that really exceeded even what I thought it was going to exceed, it's always been because the clients have opened up enough to share with me thoughts that I was able to then say, oh, okay, well, what about this? And suddenly they're like, wow, okay, yeah. And then it becomes so much more than what we thought it was going to be. And that's true not only of who's helping you with the design, but when you get into, who's gonna take over into our home, and be at the house. From, they'll say, oh, we have we'll assign you your own project manager. Well, who is that? And carpenter, again, who is this carpenter? Am I going to like them? I think that one of the great things the industry has done is by having reviews and testimonials, where potential homeowners can hear what other homeowners are saying about the teams they're getting ready to hire. The homeowners that have experienced the remodeler, they don't talk about they had a designer and a project manager and a carpenter and a tile guy and a plumber and an electrician. No, if they're doing their job right, they're using names, and you can tell that they know these people, that they liked these people, and they wanted to have these people in their home, and I think that's why in history people it used to be that if you had a friend or family member use a contractor and they had a great experience, and so that person would refer their friend to that same contractor. So we would get a referral in, and it would say, you did Mr. and Mrs. Smith's kitchen, and they just loved you guys, and we're getting ready to do our kitchen, and we'd like to talk to you. And so that was and we knew that was always a really strong referral, because that client in their mind is already thinking, well, if John and Susie Smith really enjoyed working with them, and we like John and Susie Smith,
right,
we're probably going to enjoy working with them. And a lot of times it works out that way. But I think that even so, I think that knowing for yourself who is important, because it's not the same for everybody. And so I do think that the firm, whoever you're looking at to remodel your home, in the early conversations, you need to be able to start to have a feel for the who of the company. And we see on TV, right, and the commercials, and it's all about can you a guy asks a friend, do you know a good contractor, and they immediately go into yeah, I do, and the guy says, okay, can you give me his license, his insurance, and background checks, okay, right. And so it's sending a message that as long as those things are good, you're going to have a good experience. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Everybody is a little different, and those are the what you pay to get into the game. Those aren't the goal of the game. So that's a given, that the contractor, should have their contractor's license, all their insurances, should have background checks, should belong to an association like NARI, and be vested in the community of remodelers that they're working in. Right. That's the starting point. Then from there, who are the people? Are these nice people? Are these people that are they is it going to be okay for my kids to be in the house? We get oftentimes, whether it's kids or elderly, they have an elderly pet in the home. And their concern is, how's my pet, my dog, who is a family member to us, going to do with this remodeling project? Are we going to have to lock him up for the whole time? And so being able to have talk about the who and say, oh, we're all pet lovers here. Most of the pets get to know the guys and become part of the team. They settle into the routine, and everything's good. So I would say that knowing the who from the aspect of real people, not just, okay, we have, you're going to deal with me, I'm the owner, and you're going to deal with Susie, who's a designer, and John, the project manager, and Eric, who's going to be the carpenter. And at the end, you'll meet with Barry, who's going to do your warranty and walkthrough. And people are like, okay, who are these people? Whereas we really try to make it more personal and say, well, first of all, you're going to deal with me. I'm Cindy, and I'm one of the owners, and I'm going to take you from the beginning all the way through the warranty. So when and if, or, you have an issue, you're going to call me.
Right.
And you're going to know me on that aspect of it. And, really letting them know who you are and that you're there, and that it's not just, sometimes it feels a little bit like a baton passing, it's like a relay race, right?
Yeah. We don't drop the baton, but
right. Well, and this is construction. So you can't, I've been doing this long enough to know things happen.
Right.
And it's not necessarily about the things that happen. It's about how you deal with the things that happen. It's about how you take care of things. And sometimes the best reviews we've gotten, the clients who keep the most in touch with us, had something that was uncovered during the construction phase that was unexpected. And that then by helping them work through that, then really we got to a deeper level of trust. So that type of thing. So I would say that you got to know, you got to take the time to know the who.
Okay, excellent. So first of all, I really appreciate you taking the time to share this information. But let me ask you maybe a little more personal question, okay?
Okay.
What should potential customers know about Murphy Design that would be helpful for them that maybe they don't know, that maybe isn't the obvious thing that they see when they go to your website right away or whatever?
Right. I can tell you. So that's a fun question for me. I always smile when people, when we get into those types of conversations with my homeowners and such. But a funny thing that clients always chuckle about is that John and I are married.
Okay.
So the two people that are most active within your project, we're married, and they're
still married.
And we're still married.
Right.
And their thought process is, well, if they can't convey at the end of the day what's going on, if they don't know what's going on, then what chance do we have with people who aren't married? Right. Conveying to each other what's going on? So they always laugh, and I hear that a lot, that first and foremost, and I hate to say that, that the fact that John and I are married is what most people want to know. But interestingly enough, in the end, when I ask them what made the difference, it seems to come back to that we were married. And I think it's not because we were married. What they're really trying to say is the level of communication that you have when you start the day with someone and you finish the day with someone, and you're creating something. So, there's just so many opportunities to be able to pass on information, to talk about things, and to do that. So that's kind of one thing that I find so interesting about Murphy's Design is when we started, even though I knew that's what I needed and what I wanted, I didn't know it was going to have such an impact on our customers, that in such a positive way.
Right.
On that. So that was a bit of a surprise for us. And then I think that that over the years, what we've come to realize, and John and I have done projects for our parents as they aged, and I've lost both of mine during the process. And we've done work for customers who have become, who've had illnesses and or life experiences that needed to adjust. And what I realized was what I'm doing I'm not just creating a kitchen. I'm not just remodeling a bathroom. When we get done, we've made a difference in their lives for the positive. Whether they're a young couple with a young family, and it's just a little easier for them to stay connected and enjoy family time, to whether or not, like I said, they're an older individual who's having trouble using their home the way that they want to use their home. So I definitely find that me understanding that what we're doing is more than just a job, that we're making a difference in their lives. And by me understanding that, it kind of gives me a greater purpose, so that I can pass it on. I can share that. And it makes it, I think that it makes it more impactful for homeowners to know that I'm vested in that way, that this isn't, you're just not just a number. You know, that feeling of, well, we're just a number, you know, that they're doing, or we're just a budget. We're just, one of the things that I have, it's just part of my personality that I have a hard time with, is I believe everyone should have a home that they love living in. And I don't think that is limited to those that have the means to invest huge amounts of money in getting that home. I think everyone, from the young couples through the older generations, should have that. And I try to look at that in my business to make sure that Murphy's Design is staying accessible to everyone. Because even the small changes that you can make, even, if it can impact their lives. And when, remodeling does change lives, it change. And for me, I believe it changes it for the better.
Right. Oh, should, at least.
Well, oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah. When done well, it changes lives for the better. It does. And so for me, that makes me proud to be part of an association like NARI. It makes me to be proud to be part of the industry. It makes me to be proud to be at the president of Murphy's Design. And so it helps. It helps me to go into projects with homeowners and be empathetic, and to connect to where they are, and then be able to help them, guide them.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time to share with us.
Well, I thank you for taking so much time to talk to me. I really enjoyed it.
I did too, and I will see you at the next NARI meeting.
Yep. See you there.